I'm Michele, 30, standing outside the opulent country club, dressed in a dress I'd painstakingly picked out. Clutching a gift, I was stopped in my tracks by my parents' cold expressions. "You're not on the guest list," my father said curtly, his voice like ice. My mother looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Those words hit me like a sledgehammer, knocking the breath out of me. How could my sister Lucy not want me at her wedding? Growing up in a well-to-do neighborhood in Chicago, we lived in a grand Victorian house. My parents, Henry and Vivian, were all about social status and a proper way of life. Dad was a high-powered banker, and Mom was involved in all the posh charity events in town. They had a clear picture in their minds for their daughters: Ivy League schools, white-collar jobs, and marriages to men from equally prestigious families. Lucy, for years younger than me, followed their plan to AT. She went to Yale, majored in business, and landed a job at a top-tier consulting firm. She joined the right clubs, made the right friends, and dated men my parents approved of. Her life was like a page out of a society magazine. I, on the other hand, was drawn to music from a young age. Despite my parents' protests that it was just a pipe dream, I pursued it as a career. After graduating from the Berklee College of Music, I moved to Los Angeles to make it as a singer-songwriter. My small, messy apartment in Hollywood, filled with musical instruments and scribbled song lyrics, was a far cry from my parents' refined taste. My wild and creative friends, inconsistent income, and tendency to speak my mind at family dinners made me the black sheep of the family. "When are you going to get a real job?" became my father's regular greeting at holidays, and my mother would chide me about my unruly hair and casual clothes. As the years went by, the distance between Lucy and me grew, both physically and emotionally. Our phone calls became less frequent, and our conversations more superficial. Lucy's life revolved around Chicago's high society circles, while mine was centered on the vibrant music scene in LA. 2 years ago, Lucy met Ethan at a charity ball. Ethan came from old money in Chicago, worked in his family's investment company, and was everything my parents admired: wealthy, well-connected, and conventional. 6 months into their relationship, I was called back home for a special family dinner. "Ethan is wonderful," my mother gushed as she set the table with the family's finest china. His family was part of the same exclusive country club as some of the most prominent families in Chicago. That night, I watched as Lucy changed around Ethan. Her natural laughter became a forced giggle. She cut me off every time I talked about my music or my life in LA. When I told a funny story from our childhood, she quickly changed the subject. "Lucy has always been so sensible," my father told Ethan, patting her hand. "Michele has always been a free spirit," he said, making it sound like a flaw. Ethan regarded me with polite disinterest throughout the dinner. When I mentioned my upcoming music gig, his eyes showed a hint of disapproval. When I asked about his work, he gave generic answers without revealing anything personal. "You should visit our place in the Hamptons sometime," he said to my parents, pointedly leaving me out of the invitation, while Lucy said nothing. 2 months later, the engagement was announced via a family email. I called Lucy right away, genuinely happy for her despite my reservations about Ethan. "I'm so excited for you," I said. "Thanks, Michele," she replied, her voice sounding strange and formal. "Planning the wedding is going to be crazy." I offered to help, but she hesitated. "Ethan's mother has a planner, and it might be hard for you to help from so far away." I ignored the warning signs and asked about being a bridesmaid. There was an uncomfortable pause on the line. "We're still figuring out the wedding party," she said vaguely. "Ethan has a lot of relatives, so we're trying to balance things." A week later, I saw on Instagram that Lucy had already chosen her bridesmaids: Ethan's sisters, her college friends, and our cousin Lily. The pictures showed them all looking perfect in matching dresses, with a caption that said, "So lucky to have these amazing women by my side on my big day." I texted her a simple congratulations, hiding my hurt. "Thanks. I didn't want to burden you when you're so busy," she replied. Over the next few months, I learned about the wedding details through my mother's smug phone calls or social media posts I wasn't tagged in. When no invitation arrived 6 weeks before the wedding, I texted Lucy directly. Just checking about the invitation. I'm planning to take time off work. Of course, you're invited. It must have gotten lost in the mail. It's on July 20th at the Lakeside Country Club, she replied. Relieved, I took time off from my part-time job at a music store, booked an expensive flight, and bought a beautiful dress that fit the formal dress code. I picked out a wedding gift from their registry, a costly antique music box, and even made a hair appointment in Chicago to meet my mother's standards. As I arrived at the country club on the big day, full of hope that this would be a chance to reconnect with Lucy, all my optimism vanished when I saw my parents blocking my way. I tried to reason with them, but my father was firm. Lucy specifically asked that you not attend. I was in shock. That's impossible. She texted me the details herself, I said. Ethan's mother, Penelope, then appeared. She was dressed in an outrageously expensive designer suit. I handled the guest list with Lucy myself, and your name was not on it, she said coldly. Security guards showed up, and I realized this was a deliberate exclusion. I called Lucy, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted her, but the message remained unread. Back in my hotel room, I was devastated. My cousin Lily texted me, saying that Ethan's family had been spreading rumors that I had drug problems and was unstable. My mother hadn't corrected them. I felt like I'd been erased from my family story. The next day, I went to my parents' house to get some of my old things. My childhood bedroom had been completely transformed. The walls were repainted, and most of my posters and photos were gone. It was as if I'd never lived there. As I was packing up, Lucy and Ethan showed up. Ethan asked my father what I was doing there, his tone dismissive. I confronted Lucy about why I'd been excluded. She said it was to avoid complications. I was furious. Complications? Is that what I am to you now? I asked. Ethan stepped in, saying Lucy was exhausted from the wedding. I turned back to Lucy and demanded an answer. She finally admitted that Ethan's family didn't approve of me, and it was easier to exclude me than to fight for me. I told her that the same people she was trying so hard to please would discard her if she ever stopped fitting their mold. I also said that I hoped her marriage would bring her happiness, but I wouldn't be waiting around for her to change her mind. I left, feeling a strange sense of liberation. Driving back to LA, I took my time, stopping at small towns along the way. I used this time to process what had happened. When I finally got back to LA, my friends were there to support me. They showed me what real family meant: acceptance, love, and support without conditions. I started working on new music, using my pain as inspiration. A friend introduced me to a music producer, and after sharing my story and my music, he was interested in working with me. I was given a chance to perform at a local music festival. 6 months later, at the festival, as I was on stage performing, I got a text from Lucy. She said she'd seen my performance online, that things with Ethan weren't what she'd expected, and that she missed me. She asked if we could try to rebuild our relationship on my terms. I thought about her message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but another part recognized the courage it took for her to reach out. I decided to respond cautiously, telling her that I appreciated her message, but I needed time to heal from the wedding exclusion. Looking back, being excluded from Lucy's wedding was the wake-up call I needed. It made me realize that true belonging comes from the people who accept me for who I am, not from a family that values appearances over love. I've learned to stand up for myself and to build a life with the people who truly care about me.